This is the book of Mark, chapter 13, verse 7, and verse 7 in the book of Mark in the Holy Scriptures, and it reads, and when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Makakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Grand Millstone, Christian word, truth, and sincerity. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, Christian word, truth, and sincerity. And shalom to the Akim, that be like unto the speckled bird, Christian word, truth, and sincerity. I say shalom to you, Akim out there. And as you see, as I brought out the scripture of Mark 13:7, and in this reference, I've roughly paraphrased this reference to this news article right here that I just about to bring out and read as well too. And this is from RT.com. It was published July the 26th, 2022 from RT.com World News, alternative news around the world. And the highlight of this news article for In the News on July the 26th, 2022 at 5:09 p.m. Central Standard Time on this Tuesday afternoon. And the highlight of this news article, and it reads, Israel may strike Iran over atomic program. Defense Minister Benny Gantz has pushed back against possibility of restoring the nuclear deal. Right, it makes sense because you have the United States and Israel saying that a corporation, I believe that security plan deal was long-term, a long-term security plan of the security between both the nations and further increasing the cooperation between Israel and the United States as well too. And you have you have Israel on the other hand, still look at Iran as a threat to Israel and the United States and the world as well too, and its allies. So, tensions between Iran and Israel is definitely increasing now more than ever, So that goes to show you that, I believe the Prime Minister spoke a couple of weeks ago when Joe Biden had that visit to the Middle East after they signed that security cooperation plan. And he was saying that a military option was on the table if, Iran stopped them for their nuclear capability, because Iran is continuing increasing their enrichment of a nuclear capability, and the increase of the nuclear capability, it could be a possible create a nuclear bomb or a nuclear weapon to their arsenal, So the tensions between Iran and Israel is increasing now more than ever in the last days, So yeah, expect to see for Israel to get involved even more now than ever between the talks of United States, the representation of the United States and the representation of Iran, because Israel want the United States to be more aggressive towards Iran if they don't comply with the nuclear deal, hey, it's going to be a military action on the table if you don't comply of not creating nuclear capabilities, avoid them to be able to create nuclear capabilities, which Iran is not going to back down, If they're not going to lift sanctions on Iranian side, I kind of believe it's not going to be no deal, So either side, tensions are increasing now more than ever, And I'm going to read this news article, continue on with the reading. I just wanted to add that with that, along with this article, The Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz suggested that his country could launch a strike against Iran's nuclear program, calling it a global program at a conference on Tuesday. He also criticized the 2015 nuclear deal and banned it by the U.S. in 2018 and a possibility of its revival, though the negotiations to that effect doesn't seem to be going anywhere, which is true. Iran is a global program. It's not just Israel private problem. Gantz said in a Jerusalem during the conference hosted by Israel, Channel 13. We are able to seriously arm and delay the nuclear program, he added. One asked if Israel were capable of delaying Iran's progress towards creating an atomic weapon or stopping it outright. The former head of the Israeli military, who was brought back into the caretaker government back in June, which was last month, and since that the nuclear deal negotiated in 2015 was a bad agreement that would only temporarily delay Tehran's atomic ambitions, lifting the sanctions and enabling Iran to develop economic and eventually legitimize a return to the nuclear program as a later date, Gantz argued. The defense minister also skeptical about whether U.S. President Joe Biden could revive the Joint Compensation Plan of Action of the JCPOA, which his predecessor Donald Trump unilaterally exited in 2018. I don't see anything big indication of that happening. It said, let me read that again. Salakia. I don't see anything big indications of that at the moment, he said, conceding that it remains a possibility. So yeah, tensions increasing now more than ever, between Iran and Israel, and expect the tensions gonna increase more and more and more, but you kind of expect revival of the 2015 nuclear deal is highly unlikely at the moment, because that's not going to stop Iran from creating their nuclear ability, because Yahweh Bashim al-Shai is going to put that on their spirit to be able to create the nuclear capability and increase the tensions between Iran and Israel, because these are Bible prophecies. These are Bible prophecies, as I read in the scriptures. Nations shall rise against nations and kingdom against kingdoms. You're going to see the increase against the kingdoms against kingdoms and nations against nations clashing it out against one another for verbal assaults against one another, economic assaults against one another, and it's going to get to a point where it's going to be physical and it's going to lead to war, So with that, I hope this quick sit-down lesson was edifying through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. So yeah, expect to see more intense increase, more attention increase against these two different nations, clashing it out against one another, Iran and Israel. The tension is going to increase now more than ever. Because, they look at each other as adversaries, they don't like each other. So expect the increase in tensions between these two nations is going to escalate now more than ever. So with that, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem, Rakar Kadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles of Earth Millstone, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And until next time, I will say shalom and a ball.